Hello everybody, it's Tommy and welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing another whimsical Sulani tropical inspired speed build. Are we surprised? No. This is all I've been building recently, but I have been enjoying it, and this one is actually a lot different than some of the other ones. All of the other ones previous to this have been mermaid inspired, and this one is 100% not. So this is actually very Roman and Greek inspired and a little bit the Arcana inspired. So the Arcana is a game that I've been playing, and I really do enjoy it. I'm going to take an opportunity to talk about it for a little bit because I feel it's like one of those games where it's so good that I want everybody to play it because I'm like, you have to check this out. You are missing out if you don't get a chance. So the Arcana is an app that is available on Android and iPhone, and it's free to download. And it's one of those choose your own adventure type of games where you basically have a general storyline, and during it you're going to be given options as far as what you would like to do. And then from there, whatever you pick actually changes the ending of the story. And I don't actually really enjoy those types of games. I tend to play them when I'm very bored, but I don't love them because they're usually very purchase heavy. So the game itself is usually free, but they want you to purchase the ability to pick some of the better options in the game. So they'll usually have like an in-game currency that is like coins, and you have to use the coins in order to pick the better options, and it really ruins the game for me. I tend to delete those kinds of games pretty quickly. But this one is a little bit different. It got recommended to me off of Pinterest, funny enough, and I think it's because I've been really, like, I've always been interested in tarot reading, but I have been doing it a lot recently for myself, for friends and family, and really been, like, looking up cards, memorizing things and stuff like that. So I think my search engine has kind of recommended it to me because it's kind of a whimsical tarot fortune telling game as well. So it's got this whole storyline, and what makes it so different and interesting than some of the other games that I've played that are like this is that all of the choices that you have that are paid don't actually affect the ending of the game. So if you don't want to put money into the game, you can still get all of the possible endings. And it's also romance. So basically they have 5 characters, and you can pick any of the characters that you want and pursue them romantically. And then each of those characters has 2 endings that you can get, kind of like the good ending and the bad ending. And it's very, like, it's reminiscent of Full Metal Alchemist, a little bit of Star Wars, a little bit of, like, everything mystical mixed together, that, like, fantasy category. It feels like all of that. There's magic, there's fortune telling. It's so, like, it takes place in this probably, like, other dimensional universe where it feels like old school, kind of like Full Metal Alchemist, but it's not too terribly outdated. It's just really fun, really interesting. I already played one of the characters through, and I really enjoyed the story. I'm not gonna give it away, but the other amazing thing about it is that the art in it is so pretty. It's so inspirational. The backgrounds are beautiful, the character design is beautiful, and it just has inspired me on like a whole new level. I want to build everything that I see from this game. I want to make all of the characters in Create a Sim, and I've been playing it on my channel. It's a new Let's Play. It has its own playlist. I'll link it at the end of this one if you'd like to check it out. I'm going to be playing it more. There's actually going to be another episode of it coming out in a day or so, and I'm really excited about it, and it inspired this build. So if you want to check it out, download it. It is absolutely free, just to give it a chance, and I really do recommend it. I think a lot of you are gonna like it, so I just wanted to talk about it really quickly. But yeah, it did inspire this build. This build is like very fantasy, and I wanted to do this floating tower that had a bottom level that was like water, and then the top 2 levels that almost looked like a palace, but a little bit, it's got a little bit of everything. So this is a little like Mexican inspired, Greek, Roman, a little Japanese. I literally mixed everything together into like a melting pot of stuff and just came up with this fantasy, old school inspired build. And this is actually very simple in design. It's got a lot of details on the outside, and this was a good opportunity for me to use some of these new world objects that we just got. And so that was like basically the premise of this build. Like, I really just wanted to use the brand new items, and this was totally based off of a photo again that I found, and just like everything mixed up together to create something fun. It also like kind of reminds me of something you would see from like Dragon Ball Z, like that floating tower that they have in it, where the gods live, that kind of too. So it's a big mix of everything, but I had a lot of fun with this build. It's using some fun mechanics that I haven't tried before, but I'll definitely use this trick again. So you'll notice that there is a gap down on the bottom where the building itself is actually floating. I did place these rocks on the outside around it to make it almost look like it was propped up on the rocks, and those are new world objects that I absolutely loved, and as soon as I saw them I was like, okay, I have to use these in my build. So I did prop it up in that way, but the bottom is actually still cleared out. So the way that I've done that in the past is by building 2 rooms like right on top of each other, and then you delete the first room and you can drag that other room up and down and you can get a floating room out of it. But this is a different trick that was actually inspired by Kate Emerald, and if you guys don't watch her, she does primarily like tutorials on weird things for The Sims, and I say weird only in that like she's incredibly brilliant and she can come up with like amazing ideas and amazing things that you can do. And I was watching one of her tutorials the other day where she had basically used this debug foundation piece from City Living. So it's a really weird debug item that I have come across before, but I could never come up with a reason to use it. And I think what it is that it's probably a game thing. It's a foundation that removes the foundation and makes it look like nothing is there and makes it look like your building is floating. It also creates this very strange mirroring on the bottom where you can almost like see through the game. It's a little bit hard to explain, but basically it doesn't work in Solani because it just glitches down and you can just see water. So it just makes your building look like it's floating over water. So I decided to use that here. So that is just like a debug foundation on the bottom, which does mean that technically you can't get to the water underneath because it's not actually there. It just looks like it is. So I know that's probably a little bit complicated, but it is what it is. And then for the build itself, we're using a lot of sculptural items that come from the world objects. So that big archway in the front, again, very like Southern, South American inspired a little bit. It was one that I was looking for and like dauntingly looking through the catalog to try and find some big grand archway like that to use at the front of this building, and that was probably the only one I could find, and it did still have that like whimsical effect, and it brought out this beautiful like rusty red color, so I did tie that into the rest of the build in different ways, and we do have some different archways that match that as well. So I basically just wanted to do this like very Greek inspired, but the more things that I looked at and the more pieces that I was interested in, I was like, okay, we're gonna end up doing a little bit of a mix of everything here because there's so many different things going on. Like I said, you've got the South American with like the archways and the cuts of the different frames and stuff in the front there, and then you've got a little bit of like English architecture up top, and then a little bit of Indian as well with like the doming and on the various roof pieces, and the stone and the weird like columns, those are very Greek inspired, and then you've got plants from all over the world and the like bonsai, slightly Japanese inspired trees in the background, or African, you never really know. So it's everything, but I think that's what makes it really fun, because some of my favorite like worlds that are created when you do when we have a new story or there's like new things to be interested in, like a new anime or something like that. Some of my favorite things ever is when they do like this melting pot kind of world where everything is all just like jammed together and it feels so fun. Like there's a lot going on. So but I love it. I feel like it's a lot, but it's cohesive at the same time. So and trying to keep it a little bit light on the colors and do like a very clean polished white, but still bring in like plants and stuff. My previous build that I did, I think, was like over plants. Like it was just so many plants all over the place. So for this one, I knew I was going to do plants because I can't do a build without plants, but I wanted to tone it back and do like cleaner cut plants. So I'm using a lot of those plants that are trimmed down into like perfectly circular bulbs or polished plants, I guess you could say, with the exception of a few, the ivy right in the front, but things that are a little bit more like tailored and well kept and things like that. So lots and lots of new objects. Lots of me repeating the same action over and over again and going into the new world, edit objects, and just looking for hours for all of the things that I need and then copying them over and over again. It's getting a little bit tedious, and this is only the second build, so I'm really hoping to a solution to that, but we will see. And then for the interior, this is when I decided that this was not going to necessarily be a residential lot. I don't really know what you would call this. If this is like a central hub, if it's kind of like a community lot where people could just come and hang out for a little while, or if you want to do it as like a hotel almost. There's only 2 rooms in it upstairs, and I did this very high end, like with the furniture on the inside. We're using a lot of the Get Famous furniture, and the I think those doors are from Get Famous as well. And it feels very high-end on the inside, but it was just like not enough room to do an actual residential lot, and I didn't want to force it either, because sometimes when I do these buildings that are strangely shaped like this one, I will try and force like a bathroom, a bedroom, a kitchen, and all of that in here, but it really, really wasn't what I wanted for this. I never really pictured that that was going to work to begin with, so I did attempt it, but I just ultimately found that it was better suited as like a general lot, and if people wanted to, they could change it to be more of a residential, because the floor directly below this one is actually not accessible because it's over the pool. So in order to give that like floating water effect, that automatically takes up 2 floors, which really limits what I'm actually able to do here as far as fitting everything that a sim might need. So this is a general lot, we will call it. You could make it like a nightclub, I guess. You could probably do that. That's a good idea. But yeah, I just wanted to do a couple of bedrooms. Like I said, very the Arcana inspired. There's one scene in particular from when the main character and Azra are, they kind of like run away from their issues for a few days, and they go off to their own little house that Azra has in like the desert. And they show shots from like the inside of the building and the bed and everything, and that's really what inspired this build. I was like trying to do some kind of a getaway where you could just like get away from your life. It's a little tropical, it's a little Greek, it's a little like desert. That was like the whole vibe. So matching bedrooms, totally identical to one another, and using a lot of that high-end furniture, again, from Get Famous. We've got Vampires too as well, and I feel like Vampires gets overlooked really easily because Vampires actually has quite a few items that come in white with gold trim, so it actually matches pretty well with the Get Famous furniture. So I think that mirror and the armoire, is that what it's called? It's actually from Vampires, and then the other furniture pieces are Get Famous and probably vintage glamour stuff as well. Keeping it really simple with the art, candles, a little bit old school and stuff like that. I did want to use those like beautiful spiraling lights, chandeliers. Those are so pretty. I use them every opportunity that I possibly can get, and definitely felt like this was a good place to use them as well. So we're actually coming down to the end of the video. This is pretty simple, believe it or not, even though it looks a little extravagant on the outside, and we're going to be moving into the screenshots any moment here. So thank you guys all so much for watching. Let me know if you'd like to see more builds like this, or what else you'll want to see here in the next few weeks. And don't forget to check out some of the other ones, the other like whimsical mermaid builds I've been doing recently. They are very time consuming, so your reviews are much appreciated. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that little bell icon below to turn on post notifications so you can get updated every single time I post, and I will talk to you all in the next one.